Hi everyone, this is Attorney Lizbeth Iñiguez, and today here we have Ms. Franco and also Mr. Pérez. We're going to be discussing the importance of the election, which is literally just around the corner, and the huge impact that it has had in our practice as immigration attorneys. Go ahead, Ms. Franco.
Well, I'm very excited for the elections because finally, I hope we're going to be able to get this president out of this administration and we can practice normally in terms of representing our clients in a just manner. So that I am very hopeful, and that's why we're here. We're trying to get people excited to vote. We're trying to get people excited to convince other people that are not 100% sure of Biden. But yes, that's essentially my my 2 cents. I definitely want people to vote, and I want this guy out of the presidency now.
Right, absolutely. So, Mr. Perez, what do you think about yesterday's debate? First of all, did you watch it? I think mostly.
I did watch it. I did watch the debate. It was a disaster, but mostly because of the constant interruptions on the part of Trump. I think Biden did as well as I expected, even when he had those moments when it appeared to be off his game when he called Trump a clown and whatnot. To me, that's vintage Biden, so I wasn't really put off by it. I think he did a good job in those moments when he addressed the American public directly as he looked to the camera, despite the constant yapping to his right by the president. I'm curious to see how the next debate goes. I expect Trump will try to do a lot of the same, basically a lot of noise, but not saying much.
Right, no, I agree, absolutely. And specifically, I think they didn't discuss, they discussed the prominent issues, which obviously is a Supreme Court Justice nomination. They discussed the current pandemic and also the overall healthcare, but nothing in regards to immigration, which I was actually surprised. It's always, as we know, immigration is always a topic that candidates likes to use in their favor, but they talk about it, but then they don't do anything about it. But however, we have seen that this administration has done a lot with immigration, not positive, but a lot of negative things. And I think a lot of the community isn't aware, unless you practice in our field, what has happened. So I think it's important to shed light on all the things that this administration continues to do. And they're attacking both lawful immigration, what they call, and technically quote unquote illegal immigration, what they call. So it's a matter of, they just want to eliminate immigration in general, which impacts both the economy and overall a lot of families that we represent at this firm and overall in the current our community in general. So what do you think?
I think it's clear if you take a step back and look at the overall picture of things Trump has said and things that he has done. He clearly is trying to eliminate non-white immigration to the United States. He has reportedly expressed a desire for immigration from more countries like Norway, which is predominantly Caucasian Nordic country. And perhaps the general public isn't aware of how much power the president has over the immigration system. In other areas of law, a president can't unilaterally make changes so easily because laws can't be that easily changed. But the immigration system is almost exclusively, maybe 90%, in the hands of the president. And the president can make changes. So despite these draconian changes that Trump has made, his changes keep getting upheld by the courts because he's got the power to do it. And it's not just conservative courts. The Ninth Circuit has upheld Trump's, for example, the Remain in Mexico program and the ending of temporary protected status for certain people from certain countries like this. So the election is all elections are important, but this election is especially important for those of us who fight for immigrant rights, to care about immigrants' well-being. And if you are an immigrant and you're now a citizen and you're able to vote, or if you're a U.S. citizen and you have immigrants who are being impacted negatively by the Trump policy, you should vote. Vote your conscience. Hopefully you agree with us, but you should definitely vote. This election is a vital.
And Ms. Franco, what would you say to those voters that obviously they're in the middle, right? They don't approve of Trump. They don't like Biden. Obviously, he's like a middle candidate. He's not liberal. He's more conservative. So what do you tell those individuals that are just not happy, right? Many of us, we don't have the options that we may like, but what are our options right now to those voters that are not too sure what to do yet?
Well, the problem is we can't necessarily elect the perfect president or the president that we want with specific characteristics and requirements. We get to choose between two people, and it's a horrendous choice, one, or it is Biden. And yes, a lot of people have had the reservations when it comes to Biden, but at least he is a candidate that has a respectable political career, that has done a lot for the people and at least listens and has a democratic agenda. So I think that we don't really have a choice. It really means it's essentially becoming a different country if we continue with this type of presidency. I mean, I would want to talk and maybe please chime in on what exactly have been the difference between the Obama administration and even prior to the administration. What have been the immigration changes that we have seen and the impact that it has made in people's lives? So I do want to talk a little bit more about that, because definitely this presidency has been specifically attacking the immigrant community, and it happened from day one, the second week, month after that. We have seen changes almost on a monthly, sometimes even on a weekly basis. And I don't see any positive, really. Maybe there have been certain things that have been overturned. Maybe DACA still exists, but it is not thanks to this president, I'll tell you that much. So yes, maybe we can discuss some of the changes. So the very first one that I remember was administrative closure. Before we had people that were in front of an immigration judge, we were able to close their cases if they didn't have a criminal record, if they were not a threat to society, if they simply were doing what they were supposed to, working, paying their taxes, and we were able to close their case and they were able to get an employment authorization document and live happily and contribute to the society. After that, we need to go to trial. And in the trial, it'll be determined whether they become a resident or whether they're deported from the United States. And we all know that the majority are deported at trial. So that's one of the changes. Do you want to chime in, Sergio?
Right now, I mean, the last time I checked, there was over 1 million cases in immigration court in the United States. To try 1 million cases, as we know practitioners, it is completely impossible. And if you're going to do it, you're going to diminish the due process that each person is entitled to. Specifically, the kind of cases that we handle, an individual seeking asylum, it takes time to get evidence from their native country, establishing their claim, you know, maybe getting the documents, getting witnesses. So it takes time. So obviously they want to take all individuals to trial, but realistically in the time frame they want to, it violates their due process. So it's beyond not only closing cases, but also the fact that it's violating, in my opinion, their due process, because they want to expedite this machine it's deportation machine. Because let's be clear, we are aware that Obama definitely wasn't, there was a lot of issues with Obama as well. You know, there was a lot of deportations. But then after they put in place the categories of priorities, and that was able to facilitate those individuals that maybe weren't a priority. But with this administration, there are no priorities. Everyone, regardless if you have no criminal record or if you have criminal record, you're subject to being placed in court. And along those lines, that was the other change that we saw. Before, with previous administrations, if you filed for your residency, if you filed for any benefit with USCIS, and for whatever reason, maybe it was a mistake or something happened and it wasn't approved, that's it. That was the end of it. But now all those cases are being denied, are being then transferred to court, adding more to the backlog of courts. And it also hurts individuals that are victim of notario fraud. Specifically, you know, I have some clients that fell in the traps of these individuals that prayed and told them you qualify. They filed an application that they didn't qualify, and now they denied it, and now they're in court. So that's another big issue that I've seen that is hurting a lot of our members of our community. Go ahead, Sergio. Do you have any input?
Yes. So the Trump attacks on the immigration system have been procedural and substantive. For example, procedurally, the ability to close cases just simply because they weren't enforcement priorities. The person didn't have a criminal record, wasn't a threat to society. That was taken away. And there are also substantive changes made. So the Attorney General is the person that basically runs the immigration system for the president. The Attorney General is appointed by the president. We've had Jeff Sessions was the first Attorney General, and now it's William Barr. And they're both issuing decisions. These are legal decisions that are binding. So they've taken away substantive rules and laws, case law, that previously helped some immigrants, for example, victims of domestic violence. Under Obama, there was case law that said that under certain circumstances, domestic violence victims could qualify for asylum. That was taken away. And there's a long list of cases that were favorable for immigrants substantively that were undone by, as I say, the stroke of a pen by Trump's Attorney General.
Right, and who knows? I mean, I'm not sure if Biden is president. It's going to take time, which we're aware, but at least it gives us a peace of mind that we're going to perhaps see less of all these tactics against our community. So I am hopeful. Go ahead, Ms. Franco.
Well, I was going to mention the U visas. The U visa used to be my favorite type of relief because it was safe. We were able to pilot because they were able to contribute or assist and cooperate when it came to an investigation, being a victim of a crime. They were able to file their U visa with hopes that they would receive their work permit or their temporary status for 4 years. And if it would get denied, that would be the end of that. It would be a benefit, and people were happy to help police officers prosecute these crimes. Now, if you file a U visa and it gets denied, you can end up in deportation proceedings and potentially get deported from the United States. Now, how are we going to get immigrants to cooperate with law enforcement and get these criminals into the process or into the system? So unfortunately, it's really dismantling a lot of these immigration laws that were designed to help society in general, not only immigrants. But yes, that's yet another one that we're seeing.
And I agree, and it's a tactic, right? The more cases you deny, the more, and again, we have to remember, in immigration world, we live in a world of discretion. We can establish everything that the law states, and it comes down just, does an officer believe that our client deserves it? Does the judge believe that our client deserves it, right? So there's that huge power that officers and judges have that makes it really hard, because we can have, two same cases and have different results. But I think that's really important that they use this to scare our community, because I have seen and spoken to many potential clients that are afraid with reason to file anything, because again, we can't assure them, even as an attorney, you can never assure them of the outcome. And it is risky, they prefer sometimes living in the shadows than, going ahead and filing for something that they do qualify, but there's always risk, like with anything. So I think that is the goal of this administration, is not only to deny cases, but to scare individuals from applying, even if they qualify. Because there are many members, and I hope whoever's looking at this video, schedule a consultation, because there's always different possibilities. It's just a fear of not even being afraid to even have a consultation, right? I've had or met individuals that are afraid. They've told me, they've been eligible for a benefit for many years, and they just never did it because they were afraid of maybe hearing that they didn't qualify, or just afraid of the reality of it. So a lot of people live in fear, and I think this is the time not to live in fear anymore, especially with this administration. If we get another 4 years of this president, it is scary to think about that, but we need to be realistic and be active in our community. And if you have the possibility to vote, go and vote. If not, then motivate other individuals, be active. We all have a role, and it's really important to play a very important role in what's happening right now.
We should perhaps point out that the closer the vote counts are, the better that will be for Trump, because he's clearly been setting up a strategy to challenge the validity of the outcome if it's fairly close. He's been trying to dismantle, first of all, discredit mail-in voting. His Postmaster General has, last I heard, removed and dismantled 700 mail sorting machines throughout the country for no reason. We know the reason, no justifiable reason. And now, with the passing of Justice Ginsburg, Supreme Court Justice, Trump is able to appoint yet a third Supreme Court justice because there is a Republican majority in the Senate. There's really not much that Democrats can do to stop it. So we may see a repeat of Bush v. Gore, where there was a close election there, and it was ultimately decided by the Supreme Court in favor of George W. Bush. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but the way we can avoid it is to make sure the election isn't close. It's a big enough margin, hopefully, in favor of Biden, so that there's really no question as to who's the winner.
Oh, great. And that's why it's important to vote early. I mean, sometimes, I vote by mail, and it's just doing it early. As soon as you get it, make sure you're already preparing yourself and do it ahead of time. Don't do it the day of unless you're going to drop it off at a polling place. But I think, sometimes our community as well, we tend to kind of wait till the last minute, and this is not the time. We have to kind of prepare for everything, right? That maybe the mail doesn't arrive on time, but try to do it on time if you're going to vote by mail, or if you decide that you want to take your precautions and go to a polling place, do so and take your time. Go early, request a day off. But I think we have to think about what we need to do, because it's really important. It's not only the president, but as we've seen, as you mentioned, Sergio, that there is a vacancy right now with the Supreme Court. And as we've seen, the Senate obviously has power over this. Previously for Obama, they told, when we had an opening, they said, no, let's let the people decide, right? Because, we had a Democratic president and we had a Republican Senate. So now we have a Republican president, a Republican majority Senate, and say, you know what? No, we can decide it because we're the majority. So it's just so hypocritical. But that shows the importance of the Senate, the importance of our Congress. So I think not only to be so involved in the president, but knowing who our representatives are. So I think that's another thing that we're going to take away from this, that it's crucial that we vote and we are being more proactive, because these individuals, the Supreme Court justices, are going to make an impact in our life that for more than 4 years, it's going to be, it's going to change a generation. And I'm hoping that, it's for the best, but realistically, it's going to be a conservative court. So
yes, the Supreme Court justices serve for life unless they choose to retire. And Trump isn't choosing middle of the road justices. He's so far picked far right justices. Obama chose Merrick Garland. He mentioned he tried to fill the last Supreme Court vacancy under his presidency. And Merrick Garland was a middle of the road, not too liberal, not conservative. And he did that to try to appease to both Democrats and Republicans. And it still didn't work. They still decided, as you said, they said, no, let's let the people decide. That's the Republican majority Senate. But Trump has not been doing the same thing as far as picking middle of the road justices. These are far right individuals, and he's been doing this with his entire cabinet. The most far right people that he could possibly choose, like Stephen Miller, one of his advisors, who is really the mastermind behind the dismantling of the education system of Trump.
yeah, I agree. So definitely there's a lot of reasons to vote, and I know people are angry, and I'm angry with you, but the only way we can really be angry is by voting, because I know this is not the time to just say, you know what, I'm gonna vote the next election, because it's making a huge impact. If you don't care about yourself, care about your larger community, care about the community that you live in, your future generations. And I think it's time to, one, if you have the privilege, there's a huge privilege to vote, and obviously, I think this is the time that we need to put our anger, our frustration into actually being politically active, whether it be being out in the community, whether it be voting, whether it be educating each other, sharing videos like this that we do to educate the community, to share our thoughts. Please do so. Ms. Franco, any last closing thoughts before we finish our video?
Yes. So basically, I want to just emphasize this is a life or death situation. And I want to talk about, for example, COVID. There's many people that died because there wasn't a fast enough or a system in place so that we could attack this early on. So that was one issue. Police brutality is yet another one. Another one that I would say, because I'm an immigration lawyer, is a lot of these asylum claims. It's been harder and harder to win an asylum claim in the United States, and for technicalities, for unfair reasons. And what does that mean? That person is going to be deported to their country of origin and possibly face death. So this is definitely a life a life or death situation, and please take it as seriously as it is. I've only mentioned 3 things, but definitely there's much more. This president is dangerous and we need to get rid of him.
Absolutely. Mr. Perez, any last words before we end our video?
Yes, you know, if for some reason you don't care about the impact on the immigration system under Trump, there is surely another reason, another issue that is close to your heart, the environment, for example, or country standing in the world, race relations within the United States. All these have suffered under Trump. You may say it's a matter of opinion, but I think I've read enough reports to feel comfortable saying these are facts. So surely there's an issue there that all these issues are matter to everybody, but there is likely a particular issue that is close to you, the viewer who's watching this video now, and that is why the election should matter to you.
Absolutely. Yes. So go out and vote. If you're still not a U.S. citizen, schedule your consultation to see if you qualify perhaps to become a U.S. citizen maybe for the following election. But please be active, you know, do something positive. So again, it was always a pleasure speaking to both of you. And I hope this video was informative. And if you like it, please go ahead and share it. So thank you very much. Have a good one.
Bye, everybody.